Alright, we're gonna do another little bookmark. I've got a lot of bright colors on my palette right now that I just want to use instead of waste. So I use this little corner rounder on my bookmarks. I usually do it after, but I'm gonna do it before. I know that's loud, but I just wanted to show you that little tool just to add a little something to your bookmarks. Just got those at Hobby Lobby. I also have this if you want to change the top, but usually I just use this little hole puncher here, and I'll go ahead and show you that too, to make my little hole for my ribbon, a tassel to go in. But let's go ahead and get started with our painting, and I am just going to make some very bright, vibrant, kind of colored flowers. So I'm gonna start with some red for a flower here. And I'm just gonna put in some petals, and so you just want to make sure that they all look like they're coming from the same spot. And so I'm not putting much pressure down when I start my petal, and then as I go, you can see I'm pushing down to make my bristles wider as I go. And so not much pressure, and then more pressure, and that'll kind of give you that petal shape. And just gonna go in here and add just a little more, and probably another little flower right there. I might even drop in some orange while that's still wet, just to give some different shades as that's drying. And then let's do another one, and let's do it kind of like right here. So again, we're gonna start without a lot of pressure, and then lift at the tip there again. So not much pressure, and then press, and then lift. And this is just something you could practice when you're first starting out. Of course, I have not been painting that long either, so I'm still learning as I go. And if you need to turn to get a better angle, then just turn your paper, or drop it in a little orange here on this one as well. Oh, it's still damp. I guess you could even drop in some yellow to really get it to lighten up a little if you want it. And let's make one more of that color, and I think I'm gonna make this one, I don't know, I might even make it like it's facing kind of downward, and it's not, we're just seeing the side of it instead of the center of it, like this a little bit. And then also, while it's damp, I'm going to put, this time I'm going to just go in with that yellow, And I'm just barely touching where it's the wet there and just adding that in. And then let's make a few smaller flowers. Different. Let's see, I'm gonna change that a little bit. That's orange, but I'm gonna mix it here with a little pink and yellow, and I might even fix this up. So I'm just gonna grab a paper towel and pick up the color there. And I'm kind of making a pinky orange color. And again, I'm going to make this kind of more of like a more delicate-y round flower instead of the pointed. Petals here, so and let's make another one of those, but this time maybe it's facing up. Like this. And maybe another one over here. Kind of facing this way. We could go in and add I'm adding yellow in there just a little bit to give it some shades. And that's the same yellow that I used in the red flower, so that might kind of help it bring it together as well. And then you could also have like maybe a little bud up here of that flower. And then maybe let's do a totally different flower. I could do purple or bluish color. And maybe we do just really small. So I'm gonna change my brush on this. And let's do let's do like little purple flowers that might be. Tap that off so it's not too big. But maybe something that's just kind of like coming off of like a little green stalk here. And I might put a little blue on that one down the base. Just give it a little. And let's have another one of those sticking maybe right here. Again, I'm going to come in while it's wet and add a little blue in the base of those buds. And let's do another one. Maybe right here, kind of. one's a little bit bigger. Okay. And I feel like it still needs something down here towards the bottom. I might go in and add another part of those reddish flowers. So I'm going to go right here. Oh, I should change back to my larger brush, but and let me put just a little yellow in there. Okay. So now I think we can go back up here to some of our centers of these reddish flowers that we started with. And I'm going to just plug in some little dots of some dark brown here. Leave a little white. And then this one to give the indication of that center where those petals are coming out. And I might wait just a second on that one. And then go in maybe with just a little bit darker color, a few spots. Okay, I'm afraid this one's going to bleed too much if I come down here because it's still pretty wet. So I'm barely putting any right there because it will bleed on you. And I might put just a little bit of brown in that red color that I used for these flowers and come in and just very lightly give some and I'm just barely touching my paper, but I'm just trying to give the indication of some veins in those petals, and that's, so you can see how it looks when I come in when it's a little more wet. And so if you want to do that earlier in your painting, then you can, and see which one you prefer. You can also always go back in with just a wet or a damp brush and kind of smudge those lines a little bit if they're too bright for you or too distinct, and just to try to make it look a little more realistic. And then also remember that as your watercolor dries, that things tend to lighten up. So you can kind of wait and see what's going to happen. It goes, and I'm just taking my brush that still has just a little bit of that tint on it, and just kind of scumbling around. Okay, and let's do our little orangey flowers here. They need a little, the lighter orange, little center as well. So I'm just taking a little bit lighter brown, I think. See what that looks like. There. And So I think I'm ready for some green. And I'm just using some greens that are already on my palette here. So I've got one that's kind of a mossy green over here, and then I have one that's got a little more yellow to it. Remember, if your greens are like too bright, you can add the opposite color of that color wheel, which is red, to it, and it will make it a little more earthy tone. So I think I'm going to use that mossy green to do some leaves from these flowers. Get back to a little bit bigger brush. And again, it's almost that same kind of motion. That you used before with your flower petals. And I just added just a little more. Okay, pigment to it there. Let's see. Add kind of like a base to these, that little flower there. It's kind of coming down off the side. And then same to these up here. Add them a little base. Up a little green there. And let's go back up here. Let's do maybe part of a leaf right up here. These to kind of look like they're on a stem coming out there, and then just an indication of some greenery as well. Just kind of, I think they call it scumbling, where you're just kind of, you're not really making a shape, you're just kind of bouncing your brush around just very lightly to make that loose indication of a flower. And then that's got to get somewhere, right? It's got to kind of disappear behind something. Or go off the edge of the page somehow. So I'm just putting that center stem and then coming in and just kind of scumbling around just to give the indication of the the greenery that would be around those little buds, like either buds that hadn't popped out yet or little leaves, right? Back in there. Still need a few more leaves of that color around my red flowers here. So this one might have another, might do one that comes out here. So again, I'm just kind of using that, and then maybe off to the side over here, and it's kind of going under that flower. And then maybe same thing here. One that kind of goes off that way, and one that goes off that way. And then another one over here. Okay. And I might go to that more yellowy green for some around those lighter orange flowers. So I'm going to go a little stem there. These are going to be a little bit smaller. A little smaller leaf, I think. Just to vary it up and mix it a little. Wait, it looks like it's coming there and going off the page. So there's a leaf there, and there, one right there. So you can always add some other little greenery, little squiggles, little grasses coming around if you want. Just to kind of fill in some of those white spaces. Might feel like that there needs to be some more greenery in there. And just kind of looking back and seeing, okay, what do we got going on here? You could add some like loose, let me change to like a longer bristled brush. I like to use the short, like a liner brush sometimes. And we could even go to like a brownish color and do some like little squiggly squiggly woody stems coming out. just kind of loose. Right. Okay. So again, I'm just kind of giving the indication of some different greenery, kind of poking around. To fill in some of that space and also to add some other color, right? And it's okay to leave some white. So I think I feel pretty good about that. Another thing you can do is you can come in with like a micron pen and add some drawing to it if you want. I don't have my microns right with me, but I do have one of my Tombow pens here. And so if you would like to just make it look a little different and do a little mixed media, like you could come in on top of what you did and just add some like little circles there to the centers of those flowers. If you want to kind of give it that kind of look, you can add in very lightly again some of those lines to the flowers. It's up to you. You can leave it totally if you would like. Some people will even come in and like kind of loosely trace around the greenery. Just kind of give it like kind of a sketch look. And then you could do the same thing, like come in and trace around those petals. And I'm just like not doing it completely. But that's another fun way to make your painting a little different. So you totally decide. You could leave it just like we had it, or go in and add these little details here. You decide which one you prefer. Now I'm going to go in and go ahead and keep doing this since that's how I started, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute when it's finished.